Hi, everybody. As I said, I'm Scott Gerber, publisher of Terra Nova Books. I'm honored to welcome you to our March Live on Zoom book reading, featuring How My Brain Works, a guide to understanding it better and keeping it healthy by Dr. Barbara Koltuska-Haskin. Dr. Koltuska-Haskin is a clinical neuropsychologist in private practice in Albuquerque, New Mexico, with over 30 years of clinical experience. She also has a research and academic teaching background. In addition to her doctorate in psychology, neuropsychology, she has a Master of Science degree in clinical psychology and Bachelor of Education degree, valedictorian. She also completed 450 hours of academic coursework in psychopharmacology, sponsored by the Southwest Institute for the Advancement of Psychotherapy, New Mexico State University Collaborative. She is also a classically trained mezzo-soprano. Please see her musical biography on her website, www.drkotulska.com. Dr. Koltuska-Haskin was born and raised in Warsaw, Poland. In 1989, she was awarded the AAUW, American Association of University Women, International Fellowship, given to 1 out of 30 international applicants. She spent her fellowship year at UCLA's postdoctoral training program in neuropsychology. She later received her US citizenship as an alien of exceptional abilities on the basis of her educational, research, and clinical achievements. After her fellowship, she worked for many years as a neuropsychologist at the New Mexico State Hospital in Las Vegas, New Mexico. Because she was the only neuropsychologist for the entire San Miguel and Mora counties, she was exposed to many types and stages of brain trauma, chronic mental illness, and addiction. It was challenging work, but an extensive and meaningful experience. She continued working for the state of New Mexico in Albuquerque and was later a clinical director for a local nonprofit organization. Since 2003, she has been working full-time in her private practice, providing comprehensive and compassionate care for her New Mexico patients. She loves New Mexico for its sunshine, beautiful nature, and the hospitality of the people. She always feels that she is New Mexican in her heart. She loves walking New Mexico's trails, and the climate of the high desert cultivates her passion for organic gardening. Barbara hopes that you'll all turn on your video in the bar of icons at the bottom of your Zoom window. It means a lot to her to be able to see her audience. As I've said, during this live on Zoom event, by default, everyone's computer microphones will be muted. This will allow us to focus on Barbara as she speaks. We're asking you to keep your mic off for the duration. If you have questions for Barbara, please type them into the chat and she will answer you later on in the reading. Once Barbara is finished and answered the chat questions, we will open the floor for other questions. You'll be able to press the space bar on your keypad to unmute and ask your question. If your connection unexpectedly drops, you can reconnect with the same link you originally used to join the reading. If Barbara's connection drops, please be patient while she gets back online. Now we'll view a new video book trailer that was just created. It's brand new. I haven't even seen it. So sit back and enjoy.
There was a guy who had a brain trauma as a result of a car accident, and he actually came to me on crutches. And he was really depressed, and he lost his job, lost his income, lost his girlfriend. And we did the evaluation, and I explained to him that yes, he did have a brain trauma, but most part of his brain is still working pretty well. And I told him how he needs to help himself. A year later, and the young man comes to my office, he's all smiling, he's walking really, wonderful. And he says, "Hi, Dr. Koltuska, do you remember me?" And he told me his name, and I'm like, wow, what's the transformation? That was a totally different person. My name is Dr. Barbara Koltuska-Haskin, and I am a neuropsychologist and I have over 30 years of clinical experience. I also have research and academic teaching background, and I'm also a classically trained mezzo-soprano because I believe that music goes very well together with brain sciences. I wrote a book, How My Brain Works, a guide to understanding it better and keeping it healthy. The purpose of my book is to explain how neuropsychological evaluation can help you understand how your brain is working in order for you to reach your full potential. So I always talk to my patients about a healthy lifestyle that includes healthy eating, exercising, mindfulness, gratitude, and getting enough sleep. Your brain doesn't work in isolation. The better your body is, the better your brain is functioning. As long as you are breathing, there is more right with you than wrong with you. I made it a motto for my book because I truly believe in that. My intention was for this book to give you a knowledge about how you can improve your everyday functioning, reach your life goals, and overcome cognitive problems such as memory, attention, verbal problems, etc. I hope that this book will also help you understand how emotional problems such as depression, anxiety, mood problems affect your cognition and what you can do to help yourself. I just have a great hope that How My Brain Works book will inspire you to take the first step on the road to a healthy, fulfilling, and successful life.
How My Brain Works is available now online and at your local bookstore.
Okay, wow, that was great. Good job.
Very good job.
Now sit back and enjoy. Here's Dr. Koltuska.
Okay, first of all, I would like to thank everybody for joining me for this live on Zoom event. And I need to start with thanking my publishers for doing these presentations on Zoom for us writers, because of a pandemic, we can't do a book signing, so there is no opportunity to let people know that these books are available. And it requires a lot of work. So I wanted to thank you, Scott and Marty, for all this work. This is the fourth presentation, and we have more. And it's just, we are just very grateful for that. And I want also to thank the ladies who did the video, because they did a wonderful job. It's a real piece of art. And this from Angulum Marketing. They are wonderful ladies, professional and very organized, which is wonderful. I didn't have to bug them about anything. They were on time with everything. So that's great. Okay, so right now what we are going to, so first of all, I want this to be very interactive. The only reading will be Dr. Simpson, who will be reading the foreword. And I will be talking, I'm going to forward Dr. Nancy King presentation, because she was just talking and it was great. So I think the format is really good. So that's what I'm going to do. And so you can ask me any questions about brain, about functioning, about gardening, about cooking, about herbs. I have some herbs if somebody wants to know. I will be talking about this a little bit later. So everything, so there is no stupid questions, there are no stupid answer. I hope I won't provide any of those. But I am very honest with my patients. If I don't know something, I tell them, I don't know, I will get back to you later about it. Okay, so I want to introduce Dr. Simpson, who wrote the foreword for me, and I'm very grateful for him. He is a professor at University of New Mexico School of Medicine. And he was a great teacher on this program, postdoctoral training program in psychopharmacology. That was a very intense program, 450 hours. It took about 3.5 years for me, and but very informative. Now, he was teaching psychopharmacology of addiction. So it is a very, very difficult subject, but he made it very, I wouldn't say easy, but easier, because that's not an easy subject. It made it easier for us and made it really interesting. And I probably learned most from his classes that were several hours long. The classes were always several hours long. So on some of them, I had a struggle just keeping awake. But it was never a case with Dr. Simpson, because he made it really, really interesting and informative. So when I finished that book, that manuscript, I kind of had a difficulty figuring out who to ask for forward, because once I finished my manuscript, I already sent it to my friends and colleagues and asked them to be a harsh critic. I told them, don't be nice to me, just tell me what's wrong with this book, but be a mean, harsh critic. So all of them were like, this is a really good book. So I didn't want to bug them doing the foreword. So I asked Dr. Simpson to do that, and he responded, so I sent him everything, and he responded with enthusiasm. Yes, this is a good book, I will do that. So when I had for him, I was like, thank you, Lord, for that. Okay, Scott tells me to be slower. Be slower. Okay, so I guess I will let Dr. Simpson read this forward, and thank you once again for doing this for me. And then it's going to be interactive, and we'll be talking.
Once he's done, you go ahead and speak, and then we'll answer questions.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Barbara. Thanks for the introduction. And also, I thank you for, it was a real surprise when you asked me, to write this forward. And it was a fun read. It was really, well, I think I can say it here. I'll just go ahead and jump in and start reading it. And she's right. Those are really long weekends. Those psychopharmacology, we had a lot of hours of talking. My feet swelled a lot standing up there. Anyhow, here we go. I was exposed to the value of neuropsychological testing early in my medical career. I have ordered it frequently over the last 40 years when I needed more information concerning complex psychological and psychiatric disorders. As Dr. Koltuska-Haskin points out, this type of testing can be extremely helpful when working with complex patients who have a variety of coexisting medical and psychological disorders, such as PTSD, chronic pain disorders, depression and anxiety, traumatic brain injuries, and substance use disorders. As an addiction specialist, I have found neuropsychological testing to be a critical tool in developing an effective treatment plan, especially for patients with substance use disorders who are not responding well to their therapies. Dr. Barbara Koltuska-Haskin's book is actually 2 books in one. The first part is an excellent in-depth discussion of what neuropsychology is and what comprehensive neuropsychological evaluation can accomplish. It is written primarily for patients and their families. However, because it is so practical and lucid, I plan on using it as a reference source for our medical students and residents so that they too will understand the benefit of such testing. The second part of the book focuses on brain health and includes practical, personal, and positive advice about how to preserve and enhance brain function. Included are the known benefits of proper sleep, exercise, nutrition, and meditative practices such as yoga. The reference list is quite extensive and will allow others to delve deeper into academic and research topics should they wish. All in all, this is an excellent and clearly written book, which will be useful for patients, their families, and members of the medical community who treat them. There you go.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Sim. Thank you, Mitch, for that, and thank you for doing this. I'm very grateful. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the book and then take every kind of questions, but I noticed that my friend from Poland, Professor Marta Bogdanowicz, just joined us, and I would to say a few words to thank her. Marta, you can turn the video on so we can see you. Okay. I hope you can hear me. Anyway, Marta is a professor of psychology in Poland, and I wanted to thank her because she had the most influence on me when I was a young scientist. And she's my hero and my inspiration. And when I was a young researcher in Poland, it was difficult. But living in Poland was difficult. Being a researcher in Poland was difficult, and we were a source of support for each other. And also the most important was that I had somebody to discuss my research project with. And I realized we never quarrel. We always kind of inspired each other, and it was very unique to have somebody that would say, oh, maybe you need to look at that from that point of view or that point of view without being harsh and criticizing. So she had, as an older colleague, she's a wonderful person. She has wonderful human being and a researcher. She has over 400 publications. I will never do that. It's more than one lifetime. Anyway, so she's my hero, and I wanted to thank her. And we can't see her, but I hope she can hear me. Okay, so as I said, I'm going to talk about book. If anybody has questions, did we have one question already? One question, Scott? Okay.
Talk about the book a little first.
Oh, okay. I will do. Okay, because I said I want this to be very interactive, and whoever wants to talk to me will talk to me. Okay.
Okay, excuse me. I just want to be clear. If you have a question, why don't you just kind of wave your hand, and then once Barbara pauses, then you can go ahead and press the space bar on your computer, unmute, and speak to her. Okay?
Okay, so Kathy said that she wants me to start with the topics. I will. Okay. So the purpose of was in a video. The purpose of this book was to just give my patients and general public information about what is neuropsychology and how neuropsychological evaluation can help people, because any people who have brain problems or think they may have brain problems, because if you have brain problems, or you may think you have brain problems, that can be very scary. So and anxiety and depression does not facilitate healing. So I don't want people to just lie down in a bed and think of what's going to happen with me. Am I going to get a dementia? I'm going to get worse. This is not necessary. We have one life, only one life. We need to be able to live it to the fullest. So I wanted to let people this information that yes, these services are available. And in the second part of my book, I collected all this research information about what to do to keep our brain healthy up to the end of our life, because this is each of us goal. We want to be able to take care of ourselves to the last day of our life. We don't want to be burdened to anybody. We don't want to be getting into institution. We want to be able to take care of yourself. So there is no guarantee in life, obviously, but there is always something you can do to help yourself. And, telling people that there is something they can do to help themselves is very empowering for them. And so my intention is just to put them on a right road. Okay, if you do this, you most probably are going to get better. So I realized that there is a need for this book, and because many times, like too many times, I saw patients coming to my office after being seen by many, many different doctors, looking for, being struggling and looking for help for very many years, and then coming to my office because somebody told them, or they, my previous patient told, oh yes, there is Dr. Koltuska here, go to her, she will help you. So, or they were sent by providers who know me, because I've been hearing for 30 years, so they know me, and they refer the patients to me, and the patients come to me, and I'm explaining what we are going to be doing and how this is going to be helping. And many times I saw patients started crying, and they would say, I didn't know you exist. It's not me, it's about the profession. I didn't know you exist. I didn't know I can get this help. I needed to see you like 10, 15, 20 years ago, 5 years ago. I would have been much, much better right now. And that's true. So, because knowing how your brain works is powerful. Know what works, what doesn't is very powerful. And it's also liberating, because instead of having sleepless night, thinking, okay, I'm going to end up like my Uncle Joe or my Sister Rudy, you just go there, get evaluation. I explain to you what is working and how much is working or how much is not working and what we can do about it. Because most of the problems, majority of the problems can be treated. And if it cannot be treated, very effectively, can be managed effectively. So there's always help on the horizon. So one reason was that I wanted to give people information so they don't have to wait so many years to see me. And the other nice thing was that very frequently my patients would say, Dr. Koltuska, you know so much, you need to write a book. So here it is. It took me several years, but it is. So basically that was my goal, to let people know that this kind of services are available, how they can be helpful. And this is a book for general population. It's not for doctors or specialists. It's written in a very simple language. And it's actually all these editorial reviews, I already have over 10. They are actually praising my writing style and said I'm such a good writer. I'm like, okay, because this is not my first, not in my second language. So I guess it works really well. So, I also, when I write a report, okay, he's asking me how long. It's 3 years. Took me 3 years to write the book and research, and then 2 years to find Scott as a publisher. 2 years to publish the book. Anyway, I found them earlier, but the pandemic came. It was supposed to be released in March 2020. So hello, it had to wait a little bit longer. Anyway, so as I said, I wanted to provide information in a very simple way so everybody can benefit from that, and just have a knowledge and then make informed decision, what to do, where to go, and how to get help. And also, as I said in my second part of book, I collected all this information, what to do, what we can do, you and me, because we are on this world together, you and me, how we can improve or maintain our brain functioning. Because people sometimes come to me and said, am I going to get better? Possibly, yes, but the first goal is just to keep what you have. So that's the main goal. Keep what you have, and if you get better, it's good. But let's not to get worse, especially with some seniors, because that's a problem. Not to get worse. You just keep what we have as long as we have. So I'm talking about nutrition, and I'm talking about nutrition because I believe that food is our medicine. So I truly, truly believe in that. So I'm putting in this book a lot of information about what is good to eat, and I'm putting some recipes, and it's a recipe for my French sorrel soup. That's sorrel from my garden, and how to do pickles. So there is a lot of information about that. And then the need for exercise, for taking enough sleep, for being grateful. Okay, I will. So it's very important to concentrate on what is positive in our life, because there will always be times when they are difficult. So I make sure that my patients have a little gratitude at the beginning, on the end of the day, and just appreciate what they have. And very frequently, when they come to me and they say, "Oh, I can't do this, I can't do this," I said, "Okay, you can walk, you can talk, and you can take care of yourself. Be grateful. Because the other thing we can fix. So if you can, or maintain, so if you can just are able to just appreciate it, be on a positive side of the road." So I'm always thinking, putting people on a sunny side of the road, to empower them, to inspire them that they can do something for themselves, to help themselves. And this guy who, when he came year after to me, that one that was on crutches, and when he came here, I couldn't even recognize him. He was so much better. So that is one of my successes in life, one of kind of successes. The other one is when people start taking care of themselves. So I always talk to people about their lifestyle. At the end of I have an exit session. I talk about all the results. Here you are in compared to your peers, the people at your age. Okay, this is good. This is very good. This is okay. This is a problem. We will work on that. And I have to say, very frequently, people really don't know how their brain works, and a lot of people don't know that they are very good working brain. For instance, a lot of people see, or they have a little problems with them, and then they have like a superior working memory or a superior verbal memory. And I'm like, what? Yes. I show them the results. So, if you have a problem, doesn't mean that all your brain is not working. They are still maybe part of the brain that work really, really well. So as I said, to finding out how your brain works is very liberating. to most of the people, and inspiring. And they said, okay, I can still work on this. I have problems with this, but I know this part is very well working. So I can be still successful enough. I can still have a quality of life, because I don't know what about happiness, but I want people to just have a quality of life and just be at peace with where they are and what they are doing. Just yeah. So Carol needs to. We'll get back to this later. So I said that the most one of the most rewarding experiences for me as a community provider, which is a hard job because of working with insurances. They always give you a hard time with everything. So and this is not 9 to 5 job. It's just like 11 to 16 hours job. So. But I keep doing this because I believe this is my call, this is my passion. I do this because I love it, and I felt that God put me there to do that job so I can help others. So I said, this is my call, it's not my job. Anyway, so I talk to people about the lifestyle, talk to people how to take care of themselves. I talk to them, you have a house, you have a backyard, start a garden. Here in New Mexico, it's, you just need a seeds and a water, and sun does the rest. It's not that complicated, Most of the, all herbs are weeds. That's what their potency comes from, because they can survive any kind of environment. And, that's why, if you go to your garden, get the fresh herb, you are digesting not only the herb, but the energy of this plant. We can call this God energy, plant, earth energy, any kind of energy, but that makes this little seed to grow. And so it's important to have. So I want to inspire everybody to have a garden. So one of the most rewarding experiences for me is when the patient, come to me, is depressed with the brain problems, with this and that, and then they will come later and they say, Dr. Koltuska, I started the garden. I got my boyfriend, went to Laos, got a topsoil, and we are starting a garden. So that's most very rewarding for me, because I know that the patient will be is on a road to, okay, he tells me to be slower again, Scott, because it's my passion. So thank you for doing that. So I'm going to slow down. So the patient, so that's, I would say, one of my most rewarding experiences, if I know that I put a patient on the right track, that I put them on a road to healing, because healing comes from inside. That's what I believe. So no medication, no doctor is going to help you if you are not putting your body on a healing mode. So in order to put your body on a healing mode, you need to start taking care of yourself and do meditation. As I said, it's nutrition, it's exercising, getting a good night's sleep, being grateful for what you have, because in New Mexico here, we have a wonderful, it's probably wasn't that difficult to survive COVID, like in a project in New York. So housing project in New York. So and also I am a believer of meditation. And before I started that, I went outside and I meditated. And I truly believe in that. You have to calm your mind, body, and spirit, and concentrate. If you have problems, concentrate on healing. I always teach my patients how to, hi Marteczka, that's Professor Marta Bogdanowicz from Poland. She finally joined us over the ocean. So, okay, thank you. Anyway, so it's very important it's extremely important to put your body on a healing mode, because we have already research that patients who won't get better do get better. So there is a mind-body component. We are, as I put in my book, we are one, body, mind, and spirit. So it's very important to put our mind and our body and spirit on a healing mode. So, as I said, I wanted to inspire people by giving them this book. I wanted to inspire them to, first of all, give them information. Okay, he asked if I have a single preferred treatment. No, I really don't have a single preferred treatment, because it all depends what the patient's problems are. So once we identify the problems, then we try to figure out what will be the best solutions. So neuropsychological evaluation is very unique, because it's a case oriented. It's a very one case oriented. So it's like when I'm working with a patient, it's like I'm writing a little research project. Okay, every patient is a little research project, especially right now because of I get a very difficult patient. Some of my researching provider will call me and say, "I'm very sorry, I'm sending you that patient, that very complex patient, but I need help. Any help you can give me?" So yes, I'm getting very complex cases, and each of them requires research and thinking. And after I finish the case, I'm doing something like major thinking. So I'm not doing everything fast. I have to do major thinking on a case. So I would say, so that the treatment is very case oriented, because I have to figure out what we need to start first. And if I see significant emotional problems and attention and memory problems, then I always recommend that we start from taking care of emotional issue, because depression and anxiety do affect how your brain processes information. And as I'm putting in this book, is that memory complaints are not necessarily memory problems. So if you think you have memory problems, you may have many other problems, not necessarily memory. And that frequently actually happens, because I said, okay, your memory is average or above average, but you have this kind of difficulties, usually attention concentration problems. So I said, okay, please remember that what you don't put in your brain, you cannot take it out. So don't multitask, concentrate what you need to do one thing at a time so your brain registers. So if your assessment, okay, I need to see this. Scott, can you read this again? Because
Yes.
it disappeared.
This is from Kathy. In your assessment, what are 2 common activities that most people unwittingly do that harm their brains?
Activities that I think being angry and act out of their anger, because it's okay to be angry. It's not okay to act on it. And I think having anger outbursts is not only hurts your family life, it also hurts your brain, because your neurotransmitters are overwhelmed with all kinds of negative stuff. So I think that would be, I would always say, okay, we need to how we are able to calm themselves down, to process because life is difficult. We have situations that's like, what I'm going to do with that. The other thing I think what people do is that they don't eat properly and they make themselves to be significantly overweight, because if you are very overweight, I'm not criticizing, but that's why I talk to people about nutrition, because I said instead of going to the store and buying ready food, just buy yourself a crock pot and make a soup. And it's very simple. Buy frozen vegetables, some piece of meat, put everything to the crock pot with some kind of, whatever seasoning you have, and you have a delicious dinner at night. And it's hands-free. And the crock pot will cook your dinner. I do this. I use a crock pot a lot. So you are not going to get healthy until you start really healthy. You need to start cooking for yourself, because if you cook for yourself, you know what you put there, and usually it's healthy because you don't want to hurt yourself. And cooking simple things is really simple. So it's not that complicated. So I think when people eat fast food, once in a while, fast food is okay, but not every night for dinner. Or being overweight affects not only your brain, affects your body. So, but this is a different issue. But I think proper nutrition is important. So, answering your question, people do not always pay attention to what they put inside their body, which is very important. And the other thing I teach my people is my patients is, if you don't feel like eating, make a smoothie and drink it. Okay? And put everything in. Oh, do you have a recipe for smoothie? No, put everything what you have in a house. and figure out if you like. I like spicy food because I grew up in Poland. So I like pickles and spicy food. So I make my smoothies spicy. I do a lot of dandelions. Oh, there's my dandelions. See, guys, that is dandelions. That is just, okay, let's see if my camera can get it. Okay, this is a simple weed. It's an antioxidant powerhouse because it's wild. You can't get rid of it from your lawn because this is that power, that energy that has. So you need to eat that. And I teach my patients that do this before it flowers. Okay, it has this yellow flowers already died, but this one though. So do this before it flowers. Right now, it's the most potent when it comes out. New Mexico. I just got it out in about an hour before the presentation. This one is bitter, so don't put it in salad. Put it in a smoothie, because the bitter it is, the more powerful it is. And if you put it in a smoothie, you don't taste it, but you still get the benefit. So I teach my patients, whatever you have, if you like a little bit of chocolate, if you like, you have a sweet taste, so put something that is sweet like figs, or I don't know, maybe a good, I will tell you in a moment. We get to that, COVID in brain. So make it the way that, so put everything what you have. Put seeds, put vegetables, fruits, and make it, I put almond milk there and figure out how it tastes for you, and they have it because some patients are depressed and don't want to cook for themselves. I put everything in a blender. It's a minute. Blender does the job. You just put everything there.
Barbara, I've been surprised at how many of the treatments you've mentioned seem to be lifestyle and diet changes. Are there other more medically focused or centered treatments, or is this how it's done?
Yes, but I finished these classes with 450 hours with the Dr. Simpson was teaching and others were teaching for 3 years, and I decided not to prescribe because I felt it's much I am much more needed as neuropsychologist than prescriber, but I know my medication right now. So when people come to me, I said, what is your problem, your diagnosis? And they said, I really don't know. I said, what medication are you taking? Because then I will figure out what he's treated or she's treated for. Okay, so yes, medications are needed when they are needed. Are they an answer to everything? No, because they are as a bandage. So if you cut your finger, you need to put the bandage on, but then you have to learn how to live with a hurting finger. So yes, medication are needed, and very frequently, if I have a patient that comes and it's a severe depression, usually depression, and it's crying, I'm doing intake and they cry most of the intake, I'm like, I'm not going to do testing with them because they are not going to be good. So I send them for medication evaluation, and I send them for therapy because, as I said, pills do not talk. They won't teach you how to manage your mental problems.
Okay, there are several people who have questions. Let's go ahead with Nat.
Hi, Dr. Koltuska-Haskin. So I sustained a head injury 37 years ago, and then, so it was 1984, and in 2012, I sustained another head injury, and I was referred to Dr. Koltuska-Haskin. And it was very, very interesting working with her because my original neuropsych evaluation had my hierarchy of deficits to executive functioning being my highest level of loss, to memory, to then attention. In that second head injury, my neurologist thought I was developing what's common often in older brain injury patients, is that I had early onset dementia. And in the neuropsych testing that Dr. Koltuska and I did together, she was able to differentiate that my hierarchy had completely shifted to most loss in memory, executive functioning, and attention. But my compensatory strategies I was still trying to use were to my old deficit hierarchy. And I think what was most useful to me in moving forward and then becoming an advocate for people with brain injuries was understanding that that shift is something you can address by shifting your compensatory strategies and then addressing how you utilize them as tools to enhance your brain function. And I just want to say that I think neuropsych testing is such a valuable tool, not only for all of the lifestyle issues that Dr. you are describing, but also understanding how our brain works. And it's not how our brains don't work, it's what parts of it work the most effectively and efficiently, and what ones need the most support. And then how do we shift that hierarchy of compensatory strategies that bring us toward the highest level of functioning. So that's the value I really see in the work that you do, and how you helped me look at neuropsych testing as a much more patient engaged with report system, as opposed to patient, here's a report, there's your diagnosis. I hope I've described what our interface was made up of and how I was able then to utilize it in a very functional fashion. And that's why I make so many referrals to you now that I provide support for other people with brain injuries. So I wondered if you had any comments on what our experience was I think 9 or 10 years ago when we worked together, and just is my perception on that useful and accurate? Thank you.
It's very useful. Thank you very much. Because I always tell patients, I am doing this for you, not for your doctor, not for your parents, not for your spouses. It's mainly for you because you are a user of your brain. So you need to know how your brain is working. Yes, this is going to also be helpful for your referral sources, for your doctors, for the therapists. And I definitely, one more, maybe somebody asked me earlier, what I always prescribe to patients? I always prescribe therapy. If they have emotional issues, I always send them to a therapist. And I've been in this area for so many years, I know who is a good therapist for what. So I send them to the right therapist. And but I emphasize, especially with adolescents, they are brought by patients and like, oh, I don't need to do that. Okay, this is like, you are not doing this for me, man. So, you're doing this for yourself. So yes, so that's why I spent so much time making sure that people understand how their brain works and how they can get help. So thank you very much, Nat. I love you. Okay, any other questions?
Yeah, excuse me, Barbara. There's a lot of questions already in the chat. I'm going to start at the beginning and just go through them with you.
Okay.
And then if people have more questions, we'll give them the opportunity. Okay?
Okay.
Well, Nat wants to know when you were at UCLA.
Oh, it was very long time ago. It was the first year. So I came to United. I won this at AUW. It was 89, very long time ago.
Okay, and she suggests that you submit a session proposal for the IBIA conference about the book. Proposals are being accepted right now, and the conference will be virtual. So there's a suggestion for you.
Okay. So what is the suggestion for what? For what virtual? Oh, okay.
He suggested, do you see it in the chat?
No. Okay, let me see. Let me see. I have to click on it.
It's okay.
Oh. Okay. This is too many. So let's see where we are. Okay, you can send me to this later because I don't know
an email about it.
Send me email about it. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. There's more than one question about how the pandemic has affected what you're seeing.
Okay, we were going to talk about a little bit about COVID and brain. So we know that it's 8 o'clock, so I don't want to keep people. So, but COVID-19 invades and infects brain. So people who had this disease or maybe had somebody that affected from the disease. So the main symptom is a brain fog. Brain fog is not one symptom. It's not like one. It's many different things can make you have a brain fog. So it's very important to figure out what does this mean for that particular person. And also, which people doesn't realize that if they have even very light case of COVID, if they lost their smell and their sense of taste, then the virus already went to the brain because it affected that center in the brain. That's why they lost it. So there may be some problems with that or may not. Everybody is different. So so people may not. So as the same as in brain injury, people come to me that have a very mild brain injury and their MRI comes clear and they have a lot of problems since the brain injury. And if people come to me with a severe brain injury, like this guy on a video, and they come out just great. And in my book, I also showed, I discussed a case of Dr. Tyler that had this, she wrote this book, My Stroke of Insight. She's a neuroscientist at, and she had a a stroke that would kill 90% of people, but she survived it and wrote a book about it. So she basically was able to come back to her profession. How the isolation affects people? Yes, it affects in a great way. So if you feel, it affects everybody because everything has changed. World has changed for everybody. So I think some people can cope well, some not. So if you have difficulty coping, find a therapist, get somebody to talk to. Don't just
success treating people with brain fog or other brain symptoms from COVID?
Well, yes, but I would concentrate on, I'm a brain specialist. So yes, COVID causes memory loss, causes a lot of problems in the front of brain fog, but brain fog is, that's what people think first. And brain fog, as I said, it's not one thing, just like there is no one Alzheimer, there's no one cancer. There is many different forms of these diseases. That's why it's many different forms of brain fog. So it's very important to figure out what this actually is. And we are still learning about this, how brain affects, how COVID affects brain, because most research went right now to identify the virus and do the vaccine. So, do the remedial stuff, but still not the research coming about what the COVID does to the brain. Right now we have research from people who have died, so we know how the COVID actually affected the structure of the brain.
Okay. Marcia asks, how much does alcohol affect the brain? Not if you're an alcoholic, we know about that, but 1 to 2 times a week, a glass of wine or hard liquor.
Okay, so everything is good in moderation. And I put up in my book, don't forget about red wine, because red wine in moderation is very good, and Pinot Noir has the most resveratrol. It's good in moderation. So, but alcohol abuse, yes, it does affect brain, especially patient's ability, especially visual spatial skills in the brain, and non-verbal part of the brain, for some reason, right hemisphere, so visual and visual spatial. So years and years of alcohol abuse obviously affect how the brain functioning, memory, executive functioning, but substance abuse is a way to treat. This is a self-treating mechanism. That is, people usually treat depression, mood problems, trauma, PTSD. So if people have problems with alcohol, we need to figure out what they are trying to treat, what kind of problems they have. So this is a way of dealing with addiction. Is always a self-medicating issue.
I think Marcia was asking more about a recreational or occasional drinker, and are there differences between wine, white and red, harder liquor, or beer?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know that much, but I tell you general rule. It's a 1 drink per day, 1 wine per day for women, and 4 drinks. So I would say 1 drink per day for women, per evening or per day, and 4 for men. So I think if somebody has a glass and a half, or maybe 2 glasses of wine with the dinner, probably they're not going to have a severe problems. But how much? I don't know. I don't know research about I did some research on a red wine and Pinot Noir because of resveratrol, and we know the resveratrol. Pinot Noir has the most resveratrol, so it's good for the. Oh, you told me not to go. Okay, let's go to the next question then.
Okay, Hugh asks, I've heard issues like Parkinson's are linked with high levels of dopamine, which is released when people are happy. Is that true? And if so, is it possible that being too happy can be as harmful as depression?
Yes, dopamine. Yes, Parkinson's related to dopamine, but it's really complex question because it requires a little bit. So yes, dopamine is a feeling good hormone. So if you have a glass of wine, obviously, or whatever, you have a conversation or a nice conversation or good day, it will help you. But how this is, I don't know. I have to think about it. Carol Orr is a specialist in Parkinson. Maybe she can answer that question. Dr. Orr?
There she is. Hi, Carol, we see you. Let me go ahead and press the space bar.
There you go. Parkinson's is actually too little dopamine. And the medications that are given to people with Parkinson's are meant to increase their level of dopamine. So being too happy is not going to give you Parkinson's disease.
Okay, so I guess.
And they don't know what causes it. And there are many varieties of it. And that lead to a variety of different problems. So, but it's too little dopamine, not too much. And the medications that they take for the Parkinson's actually, because of the increase of the dopamine, give them a side effect. While it increases their ability to move, over the long term, it actually gives some side effects of jerky, herky movements because of the rise in the dopamine level.
Thank you, Dr. Orr. And I lost the last part of the question, so that's I probably got lost here because it's that about it makes you happy now. Too much dopamine is not going to give you Parkinson because the etiology of the disease is totally different.
Right, but they don't know. They don't know the reason that it's that what causes it. There was a theory there for a while that increased neurotoxins in the atmosphere raises your risk for Parkinson's. And there tend to be a higher amount of it in areas that where they use a lot of like in rural areas where they use a lot of pesticides. So,
do you have any other questions, Hugh?
Yeah, so it's safe to be happy. It's safe to be happy. It's very safe to be happy. Okay.
Happiness never hurt anybody.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Orr.
You're welcome.
Carol says, as I read your book, what comes across to me is the importance of getting a neuropsychological evaluation to fully assess whether fears that cognitive difficulties are actually brain-related or due to illness or psychological difficulties, because the full evaluation will give one an accurate starting point for beginning remediation. Was that your intent?
Yes, I'm getting it a bit out of how do we say? Okay, so let's go to the next question.
Sure. Can you address how the COVID isolation has affected our brains? And I would be curious about treatments.
Okay, I think I already addressed that.
I think this is specifically about isolation. That feeling.
Oh, no, isolation is always very toxic to our brain, body, and spirit. There's no doubt about it. And and I think also fear, it is extremely a big factor here, because this the COVID-19 came all over the sudden, and we didn't know what is this, we didn't know how to deal with this, we didn't know what's going to happen. So I think depression, anxiety, and all the uncertain, the situation was extremely uncertain and scary for most people. And then dealing with, especially for children, for family with children, the mothers had to work and teach them school. And I mean, that was difficult. How to deal with that? So I think it all depends on a patient, on the person ability to cope, because we are all in this together. If we can cope with that without medication, with therapy, or with all this, what I have in this book, how to take care of ourselves, and we are okay, we don't need anything else. But if we get worse with time, that it's time to get medical help, to get some medication, or basically get yourself busy, I would say. Get yourself busy, have a passion, have something that fills your days, and go for a walk, because walking pumps up dopamine in your brain. So once you walk, you will feel much better.
Okay. Malibu wonders whether there's benefits for the brain in following an anti-inflammatory diet.
Oh, absolutely. That is okay. This is anti-inflammatory, Dandelions, and this is anti-inflammatory, rosemary, and sage. Oh, sage is anti-inflammatory. The garden sage. Can everybody see it? No. Okay. That's what my mother would put in a cup like this when I had a problem with my tooth or with my fingers, because I grew up, medications were too expensive. That's anti-inflammatory. So she made a tea from sage and made me keep them in my mouth. So because that was anti-inflammatory. So yes, because inflammation causes a lot of problems in your body. One of hypotheses is that it also causes Alzheimer's.
Okay, Alzheimer's. And you mentioned several inflammatory foods earlier to avoid, like fast foods and processed foods, right?
Yes.
So
and any kind of processed food is not good for you. And cook for yourself. Get a crock pot.
Marcia mentions that a high quality loose tea is her medication.
Okay.
And Memory wants to know, what did you learn about yourself while writing the book? It is such an accomplishment. I'm wondering what the experience was like for you.
Thank you, Memory. Thank you, Dr. Dini. What I learned about myself is that I can do that. And that after this, actually I learned it after, when I started getting all this editorial review that telling me how good writer I am, and that it would be so well written. So it was a total surprise for me, because I wrote this book for giving people information, and I didn't think about myself as a writer, but everybody is praising me right now as how good writing skills I have. So that is absolutely something that I didn't expect. But also that I can be helpful in many different ways to not only to my patients, but also to general public, because I'm getting so much. That's actually after that, I'm getting so much positive reviews, and it's like, I finished this book and I released that spirit to the world, and now it's, the spirit is flying and helping other people. So, but what I learned for myself, basically that I can do that, because, when you start a book, you really don't know if you'll be able to finish that. And you have to be very persistent. And I know I was always persistent. So, and just keep going, just like Professor Bogdanovich, 400 publications. Jesus Christ, I would never do that.
Okay. That's all the questions we have in the chat. Is there anything else someone would like to say?
If I have any, okay. Anybody else?
Okay. If you haven't yet bought How My Brain Works, we'll be sending you a follow-up email with links to buy the book from your local bookseller and online vendors. And remember, if you want to read more about How My Brain Works, go to www.drkotulska.com. Anything you want to say, Barbara?
I wanted to thank you, everybody that zoomed in. I wanted to thank you with all my heart. Thank you for your attention, for the privilege of your time. Thank you very, very much for joining in. And I hope I inspire you. I want to inspire you to start taking care of their brain. So thank you once again. And I'm very grateful for your time and attention. Thank you very much. Bye, everybody.